Hello, ladies. Welcome to day 6 of the Courage series. Today, we're going to be talking about the core of courage, a subject that is very uncomfortable for most of us to deal with, but one that is at the heart of what courage means, and that is vulnerability. Brene Brown has done a lot of amazing work on the study of vulnerability, and I think she's written a couple of books. She has an amazing TED talk on shame, which is a neighbor to vulnerability, but it's a very powerful one if you'd like to check it out. Here she says vulnerability is our most accurate measurement of courage. And I agree with that because when you think of vulnerability, it's where you're out of your comfort zone, and that is what they call the courage zone. So the moment you get out of your comfort zone, yes, you're vulnerable, but you are displaying courage. So the more that we can bring ourselves to experiencing vulnerability, the more we open ourselves up to courageous acts. More from Brene Brown. She says, daring greatly means the courage to be vulnerable. It means to show up and be seen, to ask for what you need. I want to repeat that one. To ask for what you need. Whether you ask yourself for permission to have what you deserve and desire, whether you ask God or the spirits, or whether you ask people, asking for what you need, creating and maintaining boundaries is very important. But it also takes vulnerability to say, I need, or I lack, or I wish for, especially as women, because we want to put our families first, our kids, our careers. Sometimes you need to just go back to asking for what you need. The rest of it is to talk about how you're feeling, to have the hard conversations. And that's the most important one. When you think of hard conversations, that is at the core of courage because those are the ones that you allow yourself to ask for what you need. And when we say conversations, it's not necessarily with other people, but with ourselves. Um, this week was very interesting in the sense of the article that came out about me being a rape victim or a rape survivor, is what they said. And I was particularly vulnerable because that's one area of my life that I don't want people to judge me on. I would love to be seen as a strong, courageous, independent, family oriented woman, but it was difficult and vulnerable for me to step into that space and show up and then respond to people's questions when others are saying, oh, we feel so sorry for what happened to you. For me to accept that, yes, it did happen. It was over a decade ago, but it still does affect my life. And I found myself being particularly vulnerable because I was outside of the realm where I know what to say, what to do, or who to be. So vulnerability is definitely about having hard conversations, and that's the act of courage. As for an empowering idea, I found this quite interesting that when it comes to other people, the more vulnerable they are, the more respect we have for them. But the moment we think of being vulnerable ourselves, we think we're going to get judged or seen as weak. So the empowering idea comes from another Brene Brown quote, which says, the difficult thing is that vulnerability is the first thing I look for in you and the last thing I'm willing to show you. In you, it's courage and daring. In me, it's weakness. So, as an empowering idea, just know that everyone else around you is just as fearful of vulnerability as you are. And there's a whole movement now called where people are talking about the art of vulnerability and how there's power in vulnerability, even because the moment you show up as yourself, people get to relate to you at a human to human level, and that's how you establish relationships, even in business, in many other endeavors, in friendships, in relationships. The moment both of you are willing to be vulnerable, that's where you show up and are who you are. And that person then accepts you for yourself, not the image that we often try to portray out there. And to close off, just never forget you owe your dreams your courage. Have a beautiful day.